Good morning, children. So, like Musare sir has introduced you to this lecture right now, what we're going to do is we're going to first study the importance. We are first going to understand the importance of your 9th and 10th standard syllabus, particularly the 10th standard syllabus, how that is going to help you for 11th and 12th standard. And after that, we are going to study some very interesting questions related to trigonometry, but not from the board point of view, but rather from, let's say, a foundation point of view. All right. So, all right. So I'm just gonna share a screen over here right now. I hope everyone's gonna be able to look into it. Right, children. So what we've done is, for a proper understanding of how your topics are going to help you, we've created a detailed description of how your 9th and 10th standard syllabus helps you in your 11th and 12th standard. All right. Now, we'll be discussing about all the subjects, but we'll talk a little in detail about mathematics, but we'll talk about physics, chemistry, and bio also. All right. So just 1 second, children. Right. I hope you all are able to see the screen now. Right. So, children, based on your 9th and 10th standard mathematics, let's understand why our maths is important. All right. So, in 9th standard, we've studied polynomials and we've also studied linear equation in two variables. All right. In 10th standard also, we are studying polynomials and we are also studying linear equation in two variables. Now, this comes under the section of algebra in 10th standard, but we find these two chapters very important because in 11th and 12th standard, as you can see, there are a lot of problem solvings that we do in 11th standard. So we do those problem solvings in a lot of numericals. We do a lot of problem solving in mathematics also. So numericals come in physics and in chemistry also. And having a good speed is extremely important for JEE, or even if you want to study 11th and 12th standard. So that speed that is required for 11th and 12th standard, these are the chapters which help us for it. All right. Particularly talking about linear equation in two variables, we are studying three methods actually. Actually, now in the reduced syllabus, we are only studying two methods. Previously, there were three methods. One is the substitution method, the other is the elimination method, and there was a third one which was the fastest amongst all the three, and that was cross multiplication method. They've reduced that from the top from the syllabus, but that is one method of solving a linear equation in two variable pair of linear equation, which is the fastest way. So in order to have a very good speed in 11th and 12th standard, you have to do a lot of problem solving of these two chapters because they help you for that speed development. All right. Moving ahead, then based on polynomials itself, based on polynomials. In 10th standard, we have a separate chapter called as quadratic equations, because in 9th standard, we've studied, okay, what are polynomials, classification of polynomials. So what is a linear polynomial? What is a quadratic polynomial? So quadratic polynomial is one where the power is going to be 2. All right. So one where the power is going to be 2. All right, children, just 1 second. Yes. So based on that, we are studying a separate chapter. We are studying a separate chapter in 10th standard, that is quadratic equations. All right. Now, why is this important? Because again, in 11th and 12th standard, in physics and in mathematics and in chemistry, a lot of quadratic equation is involved over there. All right. In mathematics also, in a lot of chapters, quadratic equations is involved. All right. So you need to have a good understanding of quadratic equation. See, if you're only going to focus on your 10th standard quadratic equation, when you come to 11th standard, you will realize that 11th standard quadratic equations is way too heavy compared to 10th standard. But if you study your 10th standard quadratic equation a lot in detail, that is from a foundation point of view, you won't find it difficult in 11th and 12th standard. And I'm sure you all have completed quadratic equations now. Now, in quadratic equations, you have this concept called as discriminant. So delta. So this can be greater than zero, equal to zero, or less than zero. And you've studied that this part is not taught to us. That is, the roots are imaginary. So this is the part where 11th standards complex numbers starts. And this is an extremely important chapter from JEE point of view. So the point where quadratic equation finishes in 10th standard is exactly the point where 11th standard quadratic equation starts. And that's called as complex numbers. We also have the chapter is actually called as complex numbers and quadratic equations. But yes, it comes under complex number itself. All right. So again, a very important chapter. Moving ahead, children, this year we are studying a new chapter that is called as arithmetic progressions. All right. It's a new chapter for us. We've already studied it. It's an easy chapter. But when you come to 11th standard, you again have arithmetic progressions. There's a chapter called as sequences and series. And inside this chapter, there are three chapters. Sequences and series, we have three chapters. One is arithmetic progressions, the other is geometric progression, and the third one is harmonic progression. All right. So there are three progressions that we are studying, and amongst that is arithmetic progression. And believe me, children, the part that we are studying in 10th standard is completely repeated in arithmetic progressions in 11th standard. There's only one new topic that we are studying in 11th standard. Only one, and that is arithmetic mean. Otherwise, the entire chapter related to arithmetic progressions is same from 10th standard. The only difference is we are going to see a better quality of questions in 11th standard. Okay, compared to 10th standard, we are going to see much interesting questions in 11th standard, which we try to address in foundation lectures also. All right. And yes, if you understand arithmetic progression, there's another topic which is extremely important for JEE Advanced if you want to prepare for IITs. So that's called as arithmetic or geometric progressions. It's a combination of these two chapters actually. All right, arithmetic progression and geometric progression. So that's a very interesting topic. It's not there in CBSE, but we have to teach it for JEE Advanced. So that is why it's very important. Moving ahead, children, we have another unit in mathematics, that's trigonometry. All right, now trigonometry is one of the most important chapters of your 10th standard. I wouldn't say it is the most difficult because I find it very easy, but yes, I can vouch and say this that trigonometry is a very important chapter. Because see, anything that is difficult in 11th and 12th standard has trigonometry with it. Anything. See, trigonometry is almost there in every chapter in mathematics in 11th and 12th standard. Every chapter, I'm telling you. And in physics also, there are, see, physics is a combination of theory plus numericals. All right. So let's say we have a very important derivation in physics. It is going to have trigonometry in it. Okay. Now in numericals also we can have easy numericals, we can have medium level numericals, and we can have difficult level numericals. Some difficult level numericals from physics, they involve trigonometry with them. All right. If you're going to prepare for JEE mains and advanced, yes, there are difficult level numericals also, and they involve trigonometry with it. So 10th standard trigonometry happens to be a very important chapter, children. Very important. All right. And based on that itself, in 11th standard, we have three chapters on trigonometry itself. One is trigonometric functions, the other is compound angles, and the third one is factorization formula. If you understand these three chapters, based on that in 12th standard, again, we have two chapters. One is inverse trigonometry and the other is properties of triangles. So it's like a chain reaction, children. You understand your 11th standard very properly, you will understand your 12th standard properly. Okay? And yes, the 11th standard trigonometry's base is the 10th standard trigonometry. You know, a lot of students, when they come to 11th standard and study with us, we have to teach them the 10th standard trigonometry again. Because like Musare sir has told you, or I have spoken to the other junior classes, merely studying your textbook is not going to help you. Okay, you have to study the topics in detail. So in order to do that, yes, you have to give time to mathematics. And if you're going to do JEE or NEET, yes, you have to study a little bit of mathematics. Okay, even if you're going to prepare for NEET, that is for medical, you have to study mathematics and trigonometry. Yes, everyone has to study it properly. Everyone. All right. Moving ahead, children, we've been introduced to coordinate geometry in 9th standard. In 9th standard, we've only understood what quadrants are. And in 10th standard, we've studied about section formula. We've studied about distance formula. Then previously, we used to have this topic as area of a triangle. All right. Now that has been reduced, which they should have continued. It's a very important topic. But nonetheless, based on your 10th standard coordinate geometry, children, based on your 10th standard coordinate geometry, we have a lot that we're going to study in 11th and 12th standard. You know, there's a separate unit in 11th and 12th standard, which is called as coordinate geometry. All right. In that, the first chapter that we're going to study is locus. All right. The first chapter, that is locus. The second chapter that we study is straight lines, another very important chapter from JEE point of view. Straight lines, a very important chapter. Then in 11th itself, we again study circles. Now, the circles that we are studying in 10th standard and the circles that we are studying in 11th standard are very different. In 10th standard, you're studying about properties of circles and you're studying about areas related to circles. In 11th standard, circles is different. Okay, it's very different. All right. Now, if you understand your 10th standard coordinate geometry properly, you will be able to study locus very properly. If you understand locus very properly, you'll understand straight lines. If you understand straight lines, then you'll understand circles. And if you understand circles, then you can understand this very important chapter, which is called as conics. Because in this conics, there are three topics. Conics, all right? There are three topics, children. One is parabola, the other is ellipse, and the third one is hyperbola. And let me tell you, children, these are extremely important topics. It's like a chain reaction, like I told you in sequences and series. Okay, it's like a chain reaction. You understand your 9th and 10th standard coordinate geometry properly. Okay, then you can study your 11th standard the coordinate geometry section properly, because yes, it's a continuation process. All right. A lot of times what happens is students only study these topics for exams. Don't study it only for the exam. Study it for the topic. Study so that you can understand the topic very properly. All right. Understanding plus practice is needed. Then you'll do very good in 11th and 12th standard. All right. Continuing, when we go to 12th standard, now coordinate geometry is in 2D, that is in 2 dimensions. You've only got a y-axis and an x-axis right now, all right? Then in 11th standard, we study 3D geometry. We are introduced to another axis that is called as the z-axis, all right? So that is also coordinate geometry itself, but that is in 3D geometry. So in that, we study vectors and we study line and plane. All right. So these are the topics that we study in 3D. Again, children, line and plane, it requires straight lines. It also requires locus. All right. Line and plane are extremely important chapters for JEE. Extremely important. Okay, so yes, you have to study your coordinate geometry also very properly. See, there are some other chapters also in 10th standard. Okay, like we have similarity of triangles. We have then we have areas related to circles, surface areas and volumes. These chapters are not continued in 11th and 12th standard. They finish in 10th standard, but that does not mean that we don't require these chapters. Okay, in 12th standard, we have this chapter called as application of derivatives. Okay, there we have surface areas and volumes. We don't use it directly, but we use those formulas. We understand the concepts. The difficult questions, then they are related to surface areas and volumes. All right. So we have those questions there. Then even when we go to 11th standard physics, we study there's a unit called as mechanics. Okay, mechanics. In mechanics also, we use a lot of geometry. Okay, so that is similarity of triangles. We use circles also over there. So yes, I'm not going to say that these chapters are not important. They are equally important, but they are not continued in 11th and 12th standard directly, unlike the other chapters that I'm mentioning over here. Trigonometry, coordinate geometry, arithmetic progressions, quadratic equations. They are straight away picked up and continued in 11th standard. That is why they are important. Again, moving ahead, children, we've studied probability in 9th standard, which we are again going to study in 10th standard. These are very easy topics, okay, very easy topics. But based on this itself, in 11th and 12th standard also, we've got some easy topics, all right? From statistics and probability, we classify this as one unit, statistics and probability. We take it as one unit, okay? Now, when we go to 11th and 12th standard, we are again going to study some very interesting chapters. You know, if amongst you anyone decides that they want to do something in mathematics when they grow up and after 12th standard they want to study pure sciences, there are two kinds of mathematics that we study. One is mathematics and the other is statistics and probability. Statistics itself is a very huge topic. All right. So that is why if someone does BSc or MSc, you know, statistics is a separate mathematics that we study. It is that huge. All right. Anything can be statistics. Anything. You see cricket matches. If you have a company, what kind of a product is going to be sold, how much. All right. All this is statistics and probability. So based on that, in 11th standard, we again have statistics. We have linear programming. Linear programming is the chapter where you understand that, suppose let's say I'm having this pen. How many pens should I make so that my profit becomes maximum? Okay, because making a pen does not mean only making the pen. I have to get the raw material, I have labor, I have machinery cost, then how much I'm going to sell. So how many pens should I make so that my profit becomes maximum? I have to calculate that. That is done in linear programming. A very interesting chapter, but very easy chapter. But yes, based on your so linear programming, see what chapters are included in this. We have 10 standard linear equation in this. Okay. Then we have probability. Then we have coordinate geometry also in this, in linear programming. Okay. Coordinate geometry of 10th standard is required over here. That is why all the chapters of 9th and 10th standard are important for 11th and 12th standard. Okay. Continuing ahead, children, probability is another chapter that we study in 11th standard. This is taught in 11th. And these two chapters are taught in 12th standard. They are related to probability itself. One is called as binomial distribution and the other is called as a probability distribution. They are based on probability only, but extensive topics which are taught in 12th standard. Let me just tell you one thing related to probability. In 9th and 10th standard, probability is very small. Very small, okay? You only have two formulas. But in 11th and 12th standard, probability is very lengthy. I wouldn't say it is difficult, but it is very lengthy. Okay. See, there's nothing difficult in mathematics. Okay. It's a very easy subject. You only have to understand the concept and a little practice is required for it. A little practice. Understanding the concepts is very important. Okay. Only okay, having the formulas and practicing a lot of questions is not going to help you, because in JEE, in no exam, you're going to have the similar question. Okay. Every time you're going to have a different question. So the thought process is important. So you have to nurture that thought process. You have to develop it actually. Okay. That is what is required. So this is a classification of what you've studied in, what you are studying in 10th standard, what you've studied in 9th standard, and how that is going to help you in 11th and 12th standard. Like I told you, children, similarity of triangles. Then you've got, I think 9th standard may we also had areas related to parallelograms, and we have these chapters, right? So geometry wala part hai. So ये important hai. It is very important. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है कि it's not continued in 11th and 12th standard, so it is not important. Application based questions में ये आता ही है वापस. Similarity of triangles, we have all that. Okay. Now this is related to mathematics, children. Now I also happen to be teaching physics, so I'll talk a little bit about physics also. Right? See, the 9th standard physics is completely repeated in 11th standard, and the majority of your 10th standard syllabus is repeated in 12th standard. Okay, like we've studied reflection and refraction. Okay, इसमें अभी हम लोग क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? We are studying reflection and we are also studying refraction. Now, based on reflection and refraction, we have an entire chapter in 11th standard, which is one of the heaviest chapters of 11th standard physics. one of the most heavy matlab it's a very huge chapter. Okay, that is ray optics and optical instruments. Okay, so what do we study in ray optics and optical instruments? We again study about reflection, refraction. We study about diffraction. We've got specs, right? Specs. Some students are not able to see things that are very far off. That's called as myopia. Some students are not able to see things that are very close. Okay, that's hypermetropia. So how do you rectify that? You use a convex lens. You use a concave lens. ऑलराइट, सो उसका एक नंबर रहता है ना, किसी बच्चे का 0.25 रहता है, किसी का 1 रहता है, किसी का 2, किसी का 3 रहता है. तो वो नंबर कैसे डिसाइड होता है? वो पावर होता है बेसिकली. Okay, you know what is power? That is 1 upon focal length. But we have a lens maker's equation that is in ray optics. Then how does a telescope work? How does a microscope work? Different types of telescopes, different types of microscopes. We have those in optical instruments. So in order to study all that, we need to study all the ray diagrams of reflection and refraction. All the ray diagrams, they are important in 11th standard. All. I'm not saying कि ये important नहीं है. The entire chapter is important. Entire chapter. Right? Moving ahead, based on that itself, we have wave optics. We study this in 12th standard, wave optics. Okay, another very interesting chapter in 12th standard, very important from JEE and NEET point of view. You go for any entrance exam, yaar, okay? Wave optics is important. Okay, and wave optics can be understood if ray optics is done properly. Okay, a lot of other chapters are also required for wave optics, but yes, it comes under light only. Okay, now we have another very interesting chapter, electricity. All right, based on this, we study magnetic effect of electric current. That is again in 10th standard. Okay, these chapters are somewhat interlinked. We call them as electrodynamics. Okay, we study them as electrodynamics. Electrodynamics is a very huge unit in 12th standard. A lot of chapters are related to electricity. A lot of chapters. That is, we have electrostatics, current electricity, electromagnetic induction, AC circuits. These all chapters are related to your electricity and magnetic effect. ये electricity अगर समझ में आया तो electrostatics और current electricity समझ में आता है. ठीक है, ये दोनों अगर समझ में आता है तो इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक इंडक्शन एंड एसी सर्किट समझ में आता है. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. It's like a chain reaction, children. You understand this, you'll understand this, you'll understand this, and then you'll understand this. ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है कि फर्स्ट हो गया, सेकंड नहीं आया, थर्ड पे जा सकता है. नहीं होता है, नहीं होता है. You have to be in the continuation process. Okay. Again, a little about your 11th standard. You've studied gravitation. It is again completely repeated in 11th standard. Completely. In 11th standard, we only have 3 extra topics. Otherwise, 70% of 11th standard gravitation is taught in 9th standard gravitation is again taught in 11th standard. Okay. The 100% of 11th standard gravitation, उसमें से 70% तो 9th standard का है. ठीक है, बाकी 30% कुछ नए टॉपिक्स पढ़ते हैं हम लोग उसमें. दैट इज हाउ इंपॉर्टेंट योर 9th स्टैंडर्ड सिलेबस आल्सो इज. वी स्टडीड मोशन, तो अभी 11th में हम लोग मोशन इन 1 डायमेंशन एंड मोशन इन 2 डायमेंशंस पढ़ते हैं. लॉज ऑफ मोशन पढ़ा हुआ है. लॉज ऑफ मोशन वापस 11th में आता है और कुछ अलग नहीं है बच्चों, कुछ भी अलग नहीं है. बस क्वेश्चंस की क्वालिटी जो है ना थोड़ी सी और डिफिकल्ट हो जाती है उसमें. बाकी वरना पूरा चैप्टर सेम है. कुछ नया पढ़ाते ही नहीं है लॉज ऑफ मोशन में हम लोग. नथिंग न्यू. ठीक है, फिर लॉज ऑफ मोशन के बेसिस पे कोलिजन्स पढ़ते हैं हम लोग, सेंटर ऑफ मास पढ़ते हैं. दीज आर सम अदर टॉपिक्स रिलेटेड टू लॉज ऑफ मोशन. Then we have work power energy. We again have work power energy in 11th standard. Again, it is again there. It is very beautifully designed, children, but we have to study our 9th and 10th standard syllabus properly. Okay. Moving ahead, children, again, like 9th and 10th standard chemistry. 9th standard chemistry is again repeated in 11th standard, and 10th standard chemistry is again repeated in 12th standard. All right. So very important topics. जैसे केमिकल रिएक्शंस एंड इक्वेशंस है, इसके बेसिस पे 11th में हम लोग रेडॉक्स रिएक्शंस पढ़ते हैं. अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चैप्टर, चिल्ड्रन. ठीक है, रेडॉक्स रिएक्शंस. इसी के बेसिस पे हम लोग डीएनएफ ब्लॉक भी पढ़ते हैं. वेरी ह्यूज चैप्टर्स, वेरी ह्यूज. ओके, बट इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. एसिड बेसिस एंड सॉल्ट्स के बेसिस, इस चैप्टर के बेसिस पे वी स्टडी केमिकल इक्विलिब्रियम, इलेक्ट्रोकेमिस्ट्री. Okay. See, we are going to share this PDF with you, okay? But we are telling you all this is extremely important. You know, there's this one chapter that has been deleted from our syllabus, that is classification of elements. That was periodic table. Okay. That was a very important chapter, in my opinion, and they've removed it. It is not a good thing. उसके basis पे ना classification, again, there's a separate chapter that we study there. A separate chapter. ठीक है. सो इट वाज इम्पोर्टेंट. एंड यस, कार्बन एंड इट्स कंपाउंड्स जो हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं ना, इसके बेसिस पे तो 12th स्टैंडर्ड का पूरा पार्ट 2 केमिस्ट्री भरा हुआ है. पूरा पार्ट 2 केमिस्ट्री, कार्बन एंड इट्स कंपाउंड, सब ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री होता है. ये सब है ना ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री है ये. ऑल दिस इज ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री. ठीक है. So organic chemistry is like 50% of the chemistry that we are studying in 11th and 12th standard, and all that is based on that one single chapter. ठीक है. Going ahead, children, I'm not a teacher of biology, but I know this life processes. इसके basis पे 11th standard में 7 chapters हैं. 7. One is more. These are the 7 chapters. Life processes के basis पे. ठीक है. Tissues, again, we have 2 chapters in 11th standard. ठीक है. Now, how do organisms reproduce? Based on this, in 12th standard, again, we have 3 chapters. Again, 3 chapters. Alright. Heredity and evolution, इसमें से शायद heredity हटाया हुआ है. But yes, again, in 11th standard, we'll study about heredity. We'll also study about evolution. Bio, I'm not a teacher of bio, but I know this. A lot of chapters are repeated. A lot of chapters. And if your 9th and 10th standard bio is not in detail, na, a lot of students they find the 11th and 12th standard bio difficult. ठीक है. इसलिए उसको बहुत डिटेल में पढ़िए, बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में. दैट इज व्हाई योर 9th and 10th standard syllabus is important. And I have been teaching for 13 years, children. Okay. And Musare sir has been teaching for almost 30 plus years now. Every year we have new batches coming in. Every year. And amongst those batches, the students who are doing very good, okay, it doesn't matter you scored 90 plus. All right. The students who are doing very good are the students whose 9th and 10th standard is very properly done. Very properly. That is why you have to study the syllabus very properly. ठीक है. That's the importance of your 9th and 10th standard. So give importance to it. Study it in detail. सिर्फ बोर्ड एग्जाम्स है इसलिए उसको पढ़ना है, ऐसे मत सोचिए. ऐसे सोचिए कि ये अभी 11th और 12th में आने वाला है, तो इसको डिटेल में पढ़ना है हमें. Think of it from that point of view, children. All right. So this is the importance of your syllabus, children. All right. Now, I hope I've somewhat explained it to you how your syllabus is important. I'm pretty sure your parents, your elders, and your teachers must have told you कि study 9th and 10th properly. पर कभी किसी ने ये नहीं बताया होगा कि क्यों पढ़ना है. Today, probably I must have answered that Q. Why? Okay. This is the importance of it. All right.